Hey guys, Zach here. I'm coming at you with a video. Today, I've got an awesome collaboration to do today. Would my fellow collaborator introduce himself?
Hi, my name is RidersDX, and yeah, I'm just known as like the lunatic that uploads a video on everything Rehydrated related since before it was even announced. So, hello.
Yeah, welcome to the channel. It's a pleasure to have you on today. And naturally, we're going to be talking a lot about Battle for Bikini Bottom. So, how this is going to go is I have five smaller topics to talk about. And last week I posted a community post, and I'm going to be going through some of what you guys had to ask and say. So, it should be really, really fun. Anything you want to plug or say before we get started?
You all should subscribe, or Mrs. Puff will come for you.
Oh, Mrs. Puff and her jittery nature. Don't ask questions you
Yep,
are prepared to handle the answer for. My favorite Battle for Bikini Bottom quote.
yep. I listen to it in my dreams and such, and so
Oh, yeah. That's almost nightmare fuel, though.
yeah. Well, this game has plenty of things that I would consider nightmare fuel, but as a kid, I just ate it up. I think SpongeBob in general has a lot of like nightmare fuelish things, so
Oh,
it's
yeah.
just the whole nature of the show.
I mean, seeing the Spongebob snail when I was a kid kind of freaked me out.
I remember that. That was always an episode that I had a hard time watching as a kid because it actually did freak me out a little bit.
Yeah. And then, like, all the newer episodes with all the weird, gross stuff they do.
Yep.
Well, all right. So let's get started with the first topic, which is basically just talking about our childhood memories with the original Battle for Bikini Bottom. So we'll start with you. I'll start with the first question here. How old were you when you first played the game?
So it was in 2003, I think, is when the game came out, and so I was in third grade. So I think I was like 9 or 10 when it first came out, and it's kind of funny because I found it in a Stop and Shop, which is a grocery store, in case y'all never heard of it. You know, my Stop and Shop actually had a gaming section for a while. Like, it had a PS2 that you could go and play and everything.
Oh, wow.
And so, whenever my mom like dragged me to go shopping as a kid, I'd always just go to the gaming section because, I mean, what else was a kid supposed to do?
Exactly. What, go
And
look at the utensils? Like,
yeah, I guess so. And then I saw the game in like this glass case over there. I'm like, oh, this looks kind of cool. I like SpongeBob. I've never played like a SpongeBob game before. Well, actually, no, scratch that. I think I played Employee of the Month before I got this game. And so my mom like never bought me video games. It was always my dad. Like, my mom just refused for some reason. But I begged and pleaded with my mom that day to please buy me that game, and she finally relented and said yes, and the rest is history.
yeah. Let's see. What did you initially think of the game when you first played it?
It's tough to remember. I'm pretty sure I loved it because I played it nonstop. I remember I just remember this one memory vividly when I was a kid. I was really sick and I was vomiting every day, and I was out of school for about 3 weeks to a month. And so it was a very tough time for me. Like, I just did not feel good throughout the whole duration of that. Then there was one day that my mom went to buy medicine briefly before she would come back and just kind of look after me. And while she went out, I snuck out of my bed, went downstairs, and turned on my Xbox and played a little bit of Battle for Bikini Bottom. And when I played it, I stopped feeling nauseous. Like, I got so sucked into the world that was Battle for Bikini Bottom, and I forgot that I was sick. And there's not a lot of games, I feel like, in my childhood that did that to me, you know? And
Yeah.
so it was in that moment that I knew that I loved this game and that I was going to love it for a while. And so I don't remember too many things when I was a kid with playing the game, to be honest, but that's a memory that sticks out so much to me because it was in that moment that I'm like, wow, this game is really good.
Yeah, it's just proof that Battle for Bikini Bottom can heal all wounds.
Yes.
Yeah, and the last question here is, what game system did you first play it on? Because I think you said Xbox, right?
Yeah, it was Xbox. I think I got the PC version a few years later, actually, but I have no recollection of how that played. So
Yeah, because the PC version was completely different, I think.
it was completely different. I think it was just a bunch of mini games, basically. I think similar to what's it called? Operation Krabby Patty. That's another one that I played when I was a kid. I think it was kind of similar to that in terms of graphics and the kind of games you played, but yeah, I have no recollection of how the game played, so don't ask me what it was like.
Yeah, I don't remember it either, because I think I played it as well, except I played the original Battle for Bikini Bottom also on the Xbox when I was a kid, and eventually when I was, like, a teenager, and, you know, I got a GameCube and I wanted to play it again, I was like, hey, I want... Or actually, no, I was a teenager. I was maybe, like, 9 or 10 when this happened. I was like, I want Battle for Bikini Bottom on the GameCube instead of the Xbox, so then I got there. Yeah. And I first played Battle for Bikini Bottom when I was... Let's see, I think it was a year after the game came out, because I remember it was around the time of the movie, that the movie came out. So it's 2004. So I would have been 6. And, yeah, I just remember loving it. Absolutely loving it. I remember when I played it when I was, like, 6. And then I didn't play it for a few years. And I remember, because it was when I got it on the GameCube. And when I put it in, and I played Jellyfish Fields, the amount of nostalgia that went into my body from the music of Jellyfish Fields... I lost it. I was over the moon, and yeah, so those are my early childhood memories with Battle for Bikini Bottom. But yeah,
I totally relate to that because when Rehydrated was announced, I almost cried like a little baby, and I was listening to the soundtrack nonstop for like a few weeks after it was announced, and whenever I would listen to Jellyfish Fields, I got chills on my body. As like nerdy and geeky as that sounds, like I got chills just thinking about all the memories I had playing the game as a kid and all the new memories I'm gonna create when this remake gets into my hands and such. So I totally relate to what you were saying.
yeah, especially with the new Horde mode, which will provide a new Battle for Bikini Bottom experience, which is just awesome. Like something new to experience with a game that we've become so familiar with for all these years, you know?
Yes.
Okay, let's move on to the next part, which is our favorite levels. It could be 1 or 2 or 3. What are some of your favorite levels from the original Battle for Bikini Bottom, and also which are we excited to play for Rehydrated? So you can go first.
All right. I think my favorite level for some reason has always been Sand Mountain. Like, I love the sliding mechanism in this game so much. And Sand Mountain just really stands out to me because, I mean, all the other levels are really great. You know, the platforming is really solid in this game, but the sliding is always like a very exciting thing for me as a kid. And, you know, just like sliding with Spongebob's tongue down the mountain combined with that rock ass music, it was just such an experience for me as a kid. And something that every time I got to Sand Mountain, when I was playing this as a child, I was really excited and just loved the adrenaline rush that I got whenever I played it. And so I think that is my favorite level. I will say though, in terms of the new game, out of all the ones I've seen so far, I'm actually really looking forward to Goo Lagoon. I really like how Goo Lagoon's looking. I love the lighting, especially in the beach area, and I love what they did to the caves in particular. The caves look absolutely gorgeous. I love the grass textures. I love the Spongebob meme that they inserted into there. It looks absolutely amazing. So I kind of surprised myself because in the original game, I mean, I loved Goo Lagoon, but I didn't love it as much as most of the other levels in terms of its design, so I guess I wasn't really expecting to be blown away by how it looks in this remake, but then I saw the screenshots and I was like, whoa, this looks so good. I can't wait to play through this.
Yeah, Goo Lagoon, funny enough, is usually actually a level I'd skip. Because usually by the time I was done with Jellyfish Fields in downtown Bikini Bottom, I'd have enough golden spatulas to fight Robot Sandy. So I would usually either like do very little in Goo Lagoon or just skip it altogether because I didn't love the level. But yeah, it looks great. Especially for me, my favorite part is the pier because that was my favorite part of the level and just seeing how colorful everything looked, and yeah, it looked great. But my favorite level from the original Battle for Bikini Bottom, I think I told you this, is Rock Bottom. I love Rock Bottom. Like, the Sleepy Time robots are my favorite robots, and just the fact that they're prominent in that level is amazing. I love the museum. It's my favorite segment of the game, that museum sequence. I love it. Yeah, to me, a great level. I like the spookier atmosphere, the Easter eggs that go back to the show with SpongeBob going up to the vending machine, and of course
Yes.
the famous Mrs. Puff. You know, like it's just I don't know. To me, a perfect level, and I'm excited for it in Rehydrated as well. But like you, a level that actually caught me off guard was downtown Bikini Bottom. I liked how the
Yeah.
rooftops looked. Like,
Yeah, the textures of those buildings are really good.
yeah, and I don't know if you've noticed this. I mentioned this in one of my long analysis videos about for Bikini Bottom, the short trailers, but the Chuck robots look so much more animated and expressive, and they look so good. So I cannot wait to see their little opening cutscene if in downtown Bikini Bottom.
Oh yeah, I think that kind of goes for all the robots in general. I mean, in the original game, they had a lot of personality to them, definitely. But in this game, it looks like they've revved up the personality, and I really like that design choice, so I'm really looking forward to seeing how much crazier the robots look in this one.
Yeah, like I think I mean, maybe we'll talk about this in a little while, but when we saw Slick in, I have a cat, my cat actually named Slick, and he's right next to me. When we saw Slick in the trailer, he looked awesome. I loved how he looked.
Yeah.
So I can't wait to see more robots.
Definitely.
Okay, so next up is music. So obviously, Battle for Bikini Bottom is known to have great music. You know, every single level
Yes.
has at least good music. So, what's your favorite piece of music from this game?
Okay, my answer on this has changed throughout the years.
Ooh.
Because I remember, I think for the longest time, the Hub World music was my favorite. Like, I just love listening to that. It's just such nice, easy, breezy music, and it's to me, it's the theme about Bikini Bottom, that Hub World music. It's the first track that you hear as you start playing SpongeBob for the first time. So it holds a lot of sentimental value to me. But recently, I've been really obsessed with the Chum Bucket theme. Like, I love when the bass drops in particular. It just goes like, you know, that part. And it just signifies this really epic moment. And I'm like, this is a SpongeBob game, and I feel like I'm in the end of like Mario 64 battling Bowser. Like, it's the music just really sets the tone for that boss. And
Yeah, it's
I remember when I got to
epic.
that boss. Yeah, I remember when I got to that boss for the very first time. Like, I think I almost peed my pants because it was that insane to me. Like, it was my biggest accomplishment to me as a kid when I got there. So yeah, I would say that's my favorite currently.
You know what? Like, that's up there for me too. I love it. Did you actually hear? There's actually someone who uploaded a video where it's like a cover of that theme. It's like metal almost. Like, they have the electric
Oh.
guitar, and like they really go into it, like dun 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 dun, and it sounds so cool. You should definitely listen to it if that's your favorite theme.
Oh yeah, that does not sound familiar to me, but it sounds like something I'd love. So I'll
Yeah.
definitely look out for that.
Yeah, it's really good. Just search up like SpongeBob boss, like the metal or whatever. It's super cool.
Can't wait to keep all my neighbors up at 1 o'clock in the evening with that remix. I'm really looking forward to it.
No complaints there because it's epic music. I'm stumped because I literally love every single song for the game. For me, it's partially mixed between Jellyfish Fields just because of how nostalgic and iconic it is, but I also really like Mermalair, the Mermalair theme.
Oh
Like,
yes.
It's very superhero-y, and it makes sense for with the trumpets, and it's very jazzy, and I like it.
Oh yeah, definitely. You know, I made like a review on Creature from the Krusty Krab, and the Morvalair song kind of reminds me of like Patrick's levels in that game, and I kind of like thought that, like, man, I would love like a SpongeBob game that takes place in the Mermaid Man Barnacle Boy universe. You know, I would love it. You know, the plotline should be like SpongeBob and Patrick buy like the 100th issue of Mermaid Man and Barnacle Boy, and they make some kind of wish, you know, maybe like in Battle for Bikini Bottom, then they get transported into the comic, and then they play through like everything but in like a comic style, and hearing more music like the Mermalair in the background. I just think that would be like a really epic idea for a SpongeBob game. But I don't know, THQ Nordic, if you ever hear me, then I would very much like this to be like the next thing.
Yeah, it's just crazy. Like all the different things they could very possibly do. I really hope that they keep going because obviously they have a bunch of Nickelodeon licenses, like Fairly Odd Parents, Jimmy Neutron, and all that. But I really want them to focus. Like, I mean, because obviously a lot of people I think want Tack. I think that's pretty popular. But I really want them to continue with SpongeBob too, because.
Oh yeah. Well, I did interview like one of the people from THQ Nordic, I think last week at this point, and from what it sounded like, they're definitely very excited about what they want to do afterwards. So I'm very excited to see what they come up with next.
Oh, it's gonna be so cool. I can't wait. I want
Yeah.
to see what more comes out of all of this because I mean, Battle for Bikini Bottom is a great one to start off with, of course.
Yep, you can't go wrong with that, definitely.
Exactly. All right. So the next one we mentioned it a little bit, but we'll go a little deeper into it. Is our excitement level for Rehydrated, and not just how excited we are for the game when it comes out in a couple months, not even like less than 2 months now, but how much this game excited us when it got revealed and like our initial reaction and all that. So I'll have you start.
So, man, I really should have like filmed my initial reaction to it actually because I was psyched. I was so psyched and I could not even contain myself. It was the only thing I thought about the entire day, honestly. But I did make up a video afterwards talking about what I thought about the announcement and such, and I sounded like I was on the verge of tears throughout the entire thing. And I mispronounced like every other word in the video too. So it was definitely like a shocking moment to me. And it got me excited for a game in a way that I feel like I haven't been for a long time, which kind of sounds bad in terms of like the video game industry as a whole. But, as a kid, I got really excited over tons of games, tons of them. But, as I got older, you start having to deal with like other things in life. Like I had to go to college, had to focus on my studies, video games just became like a bit of a smaller part of my life as I kept going. And it really wasn't until I started this YouTube channel and really gained some traction with it that video games started becoming like a bigger part of my life again. And when this game was announced, it felt like I was 10 years old again. And yeah, I hadn't felt that way for a very long time. And every time I see something new of this game, I feel that way all over again. So you could say that I am probably excited for this game.
Really, I would have never guessed.
Yeah.
I'm the same exact way. I remember when I first watched the trailer, I was actually at work kind of with my mom, and we were in the car, and I just got done watching. It was a Pokemon Nintendo Direct thing, and I remember THQ Nordic announced that they were going to be doing some game reveal stuff. So I was like, I'm just merely curious if SpongeBob's going to be on there. So I turned on the notification thing. And then at 9:50 in the morning, I was sitting in the car with my mom, and I saw a tweet saying, "Are you ready, kids?" And I lost it. I was like, oh my god, they are doing it. And then 5 minutes later, they tweeted, "I can't hear you." And I'm like, no way. And then they dropped the trailer 5 minutes later, and I was stoked. It was probably the happiest I felt all of last year. And it was just, I don't know, such a great moment. Like, this game, the first game I ever played when I was a kid, now is getting remade, and I get to play it on the go on my Switch, and I don't know, just the amount of excitement that's brewed from this game in my bones. I mean, especially during this time when everyone's stuck inside and everything's shut down and everyone's all sad and depressed. This is the one glimmer of light at the end of the tunnel, and it's great.
Yeah, that's really amazing what they're doing actually, because I'm gonna be completely honest. I was expecting this game to get delayed to like the fall. I'm just gonna put it out there. Like I was thinking, there's a couple other franchises that I followed that their announcements have probably gotten delayed. Like the Sonic Twitter was gonna probably reveal like a new game in March, but they announced recently that they were gonna delay that announcement indefinitely. And obviously a bunch of other franchises had their games delayed as well and such. SpongeBob is one of the only ones that's willing and daring to release in this climate. And I think that's just so awesome, because I feel like if there's a great time that people really want something like this to be released, it definitely is now, because it sucks, be under quarantine, you can't go out as much anymore. You can't go to your favorite spots. You can't like socialize as much. It really has been like a tough time for everyone overall. And so I'm really glad that Rehydrated can kind of give some happiness back to the world, because that's something that the world really needs right now. And I mean, it's just great the game's coming out in general and that it even exists.
Exactly. We're lucky. I think we're really lucky. And not only that, something I always kind of think about is that obviously for both of us, Battle for Bikini Bottom was a defining part of our childhood. So now that this new game is coming out, this is going to be the defining game of some kids' childhoods. And that's just, the legacy of the game continues.
Yeah, it's crazy because when I went to PAX East and played the game and like saw the press build and such, I met someone that was a fan of my channel, and he was this like 10-year-old kid, I think. I don't know what his specific age was, but he definitely wasn't a teenager, and he seemed like he was really excited for the game also. So I'm not sure if he ever played the original or not, but he's really excited for Rehydrated, and that just makes me really happy because lots of kids that were my age when I first got the game will be trying out this game for their very first time as well. And oh, that's just such a crazy thing to think about. It makes me feel very old.
Yeah,
it makes me feel very happy nonetheless that people that were my age when I first played this game will be playing the remake for the first time. That's just such a cool thing to think about.
Yeah, it's amazing. I love it. Yeah. All right, next up, and it's our last of our topics before we get into the questions from you guys. This is where we're going to go a little more into skeptical territory. These are things that we're concerned about. Maybe not things that are like going to potentially ruin the game for us, but just things that like, maybe we don't love, or just something maybe we want to see tweaked or changed. So yeah, you're up first.
Okay. In terms of concerns, I will say that I think the game looks really good overall. Like, I've definitely like praised it to no end in some of my videos, but there are certain things I've seen in terms of certain screenshots or like footage that I feel like the game could use a little bit more sprucing up with. The one thing I can think of right now is in Sand Mountain. I'm not really a big fan of how when you're sliding, the rest of the background like kind of has this like fog around it almost. And what I loved about the original level is that you could see the entire mountain like so clearly around you. And I just think that like that bluish fog kind of like eliminates some of that feel that you get like sliding through like these huge mountains that seem so dangerous, but gives you such a huge adrenaline rush like going down them. And so small thing like that, I think if they just like decreased the fog a little bit and just made the entire area a little bit more like clear, I think that'd be good. Some other things that I was thinking about, the game is coming out like pretty soon, so I just want to make sure that they've had enough time to polish the game enough and that it will run smoothly. Now it is a remake, and so you don't have to judge this the same way as you would for like a normal game that would, need that time to fully flesh out the concepts and fully flesh out the mechanics and such. Everything about this game was already done in that sense, and so I guess theoretically a remake wouldn't need as much of that, but I really just hope that they're not rushing it and that when it does come out, it comes out as best as it can be. But otherwise, as long as the game like maintains the original experience, I think it's gonna do totally fine. The game is gonna make me really happy, bottom line. So that's all I'm gonna try to care about.
Yeah, like I'm the same way. Like the things that like get to me are like just very, very small things. Like, I mean, one thing that because I actually did a whole video about this already, but I mentioned some of it again. Like for me, one thing is the one robot I'm not a huge fan of the redesign for is the Tartar robot. That's the only one that I just think looks a little bit weird. Especially for me, this is such a small thing, but like they put the tartar sauce label like for the jar on the back of the robot, which I thought was weird, like because you don't really see the back of the robot, you're usually facing your robot. So I don't know, like that, like just smaller things like that. But I think this game is literally almost perfect in every regard. Like just like besides those little small details. And funny enough, actually, I watched your video about the the new trailer just came out the other day. And I saw your, the Sand Mountain thing. I didn't notice it until you said it and put the clips kind of side by side. I didn't notice. I was like, wow. Like, I mean, it's been a while since I played the game, but I was like, Yeah, that is weird. Like, why did they do that?
Yeah, and you know, I think that's such an easy fix too, you know? Like it could even be patched up if they don't even realize it's an issue till like people start playing it. So, I'm not too concerned. It's just I really think the only things I've had to complain about like what I've seen so far are just some levels like not looking as graphically as polished as some of the other levels do, because you have levels like downtown Bikini Bottom for instance and Jellyfish Fields that look basically done. Like they look very complete and they look really good. And then like there's this is strange. I actually noticed this after I uploaded my last video, but I did kind of criticize how the Dutchman's Graveyard look in the new trailer, but then I went back to the old trailer and looked at the Dutchman's Graveyard there, and I think it looks fantastic there. Because in the new trailer, they showed off some footage of the Dutchman's Graveyard, and I think the contrast isn't really that good in the certain section where you run to Squidward and talk to him, but they show off that same section in the original trailer, and the contrast is so much better in that trailer. So I'm not really sure what's going on. Maybe the lighting is just a little bit different in certain areas and such, but I think like maybe they took up clips for the trailer from certain like versions of the game is what I'm thinking, because as you probably saw like Shift's video where he showed off like Sandy's Dream. Like obviously that's the most final version of Sandy's Dream that they have so far, and the one in the trailer is no longer the final version. And so I'm thinking that maybe they are just taking footage from older versions for some reason. So I'm gonna refrain from judging like really intensely until I get the final game in my hands and just see exactly what they put out. So, and also that video is just a good example of the fact that they are still taking feedback and they still very much value everything that people are saying. And so definitely go to Purple Lamp Studios website, use that contact form, and definitely let your thoughts be heard, because they are listening. And they told me personally that they watch pretty much all the videos on this game. So, you know, they are listening to feedback really well, and that's definitely my favorite thing about THQ Nordic and Purple Lamp Studios in general, is that they're so receptive to fan feedback, and it's just great to have a company that cares so much about what people think.
Exactly. Like, it's I don't know. Usually you don't get that, companies, especially for bigger projects like this. Like, indie games or smaller projects maybe, but this is a decent-sized project, and they're listening to what everyone has to say, and it's, I don't know, just really, really cool. And yeah, I mean, I use the page as well to talk about the Tartar robot thing. And also, actually, I guess I'll mention this now, I wasn't a huge fan of where they placed the timer. When Patrick threw the Freezy fruit into the water, like, the timer is very small. So, like I just said, make the text bigger and, like, put it at the top or something. Like, just make it more visible, because I had a hard time seeing it,
Okay.
But yeah, like, the fact that they're listening is just such a good thing, and I'm glad they're doing it. So yeah, I'll leave the link to their contact page in the description down below. Just make sure to be constructive, guys. Don't, just think out what you're writing before you send it. That's all I'm going to say.
You need to change this now, or this game is ruined forever.
Soiled it.
Soiled it. Yeah, don't do that.
Yeah, no.
Don't do that. Be nice and respectful. These guys are just awesome people, and they are very receptive to feedback. So just be nice about it.
Yeah. Oh, well. So now we've reached the portion where we're going to talk about some questions that you guys have for us. We've got 6 in total, so hopefully we get to answer all you guys' questions that you want us to answer. So, yeah, so let's start off with Matthew Gross, who says, talk about darker levels like Dutchman's Graveyard, Kelp Forest, Mermalair, Rock Bottom, etc., and talk about what you think about all of them, and talk about what needs changing throughout the whole game, such as level design, colors, mechanical differences, and other things. Well, I think we did mention a decent amount of that, but I will say, when it comes to the darker levels, I do think I feel like I'm going to make everyone mad by saying this. I think Kelp Forest needs to be a little bit darker, personally. I think it's a little bit on the too brightish side. I mean, I'll take it for what it is. It's way better than what it was before. But, I mean, they all look good still. I mean,
yeah, I think Kelp Forest is I think the brightness of Kelp Forest is actually just about right. But I mean, like, I get it though. It's like the original one was this really dark and gloomy looking level, and so I understand like some of the sentimental value, I guess, in terms of maintaining the original feel of the levels. And in my personal opinion, I actually think that all these darker levels do maintain it pretty well. So I remember when I first saw the footage of these levels, I was like, oh, they still look like what they looked like before, but obviously they brightened up some of the colors and they made the contrast a little bit better. And so overall, I think it all looks really good. I mean, like I said, there's certain clips of Dutchman's Graveyard that I've seen that I don't like as much, and then there's certain clips of Dutchman's Graveyard that I'm like, this looks fantastic. And so, it's a little bit inconsistent, I guess I'll say, in terms of the quality of these levels. But like I said, we'll just have to wait until the final game to kind of see how it all looks overall. But I'm very positive that they've nailed the look down pretty well so far.
Yeah, and I'm sure, for someone like me who wanted Kelp Forest and Flying Dutchman's Graveyard to be a little bit darker, I'm sure there'll be settings in the game that we can adjust and all that to make it more suitable for us, Like, it's like Luigi's Mansion. Like, there's going to be different things that people can tweak, like the brightness and whatever, so I'm sure it'll all be fine.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god, we have the Crimson Chin!
Oh, wow.
Here comes
That's awesome.
Crimson Chin. Been following both of you ever since Rehydrated was announced, so thank you very much.
Oh, thank you.
Love the content, and just wanted to see if you guys can go over the spatulas and how the animations were in pre-alpha, so basically Gamescom, and what you guys think the final animation may look like in the near future. Other than that, keep up the good work, and love to see a playthrough when it's out. I'll definitely be doing a playthrough. I'm presuming you probably will too.
I mean, I'm thinking about it. More on that in the future. I'm still debating. Cause I make a lot of videos on like opinions and such. Like I don't really do playthroughs as much, but I may just make an exception for this game since I pretty much have dived very deeply in this game at this point. So.
Yeah, I mean that's what I'm doing. I can't wait to play through this game. But as for the spatula thing, I think what he's talking about. Because, wasn't it so where, in the original Battle for Bikini Bottom, when you got a golden spatula, the camera would SpongeBob would face the camera and then it would zoom in. But in the pre-alpha, it was basically complete opposite. The camera flipped and then zoomed in, right?
I think so. And I also know that in the pre-alpha, the animation was a little bit more choppy than it was in the original. Like, he kind of just, the way that he gave kisses to the crowd and such, it looked a little bit like less smooth. And so you all have to remember that was the pre-alpha footage, and as you've seen from like Jellyfish Fields currently, a lot has changed from the pre-alpha footage.
Yeah.
And so I'm hoping that they made the animation a little bit more fluid. I don't really have an issue with the whole camera flip thing. I think I didn't even notice that, to be honest. It still seems like the same scene to me personally. But I really do hope that they improve the animation in particular. I unfortunately did not get to see that at PAX East, and so I guess we'll just have to wait and see what SpongeBob looks like when he gets a golden spatula. Along with Patrick and Sandy too. We haven't even seen like any traces of their animations.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's like one of those things to where it's such a small thing to where I could see where it could bother people, but I mean, I think Shift brought up something about it, and like how it like affects something that I don't know, like all that technical stuff. I have no clue. But yeah. I mean, like Ryder said, it was pre-alpha when we saw all that. So even if it still does the camera flip thing, I'm sure the animations are smoother. I'm sure it'll just look more natural overall. So I don't think we need to worry about that.
Yeah.
Next up is Guy with a Camera 13, and he asks, question, are we still getting that SpongeBob Robot Patrick boss fight? And I was a little bit confused by the wording of this question, but I think he's talking about like the buff Bob Muscle Pants boss phase from the Robot SpongeBob battle that got cut. I think that's what he's talking about. That's what I got out of it.
Yeah, I think that's what it is too.
Yeah. There's another question later that talks about cut content, which I was going to get into a little bit later, but that's something I mentioned in one of my analysis videos. I was like, I don't know. I mean, I think that if that is a thing they're going to do, I don't think they'd show us. I think it'd be something that we'd find out when we're playing, because I don't think that's something they'd want to show in a trailer. That's just a big thing, you know?
Yeah. I actually know the answer to this question.
Oh.
Because it was one of the interview questions I got to ask Martin. And so I guess I'll just talk about it here. I don't know when you're planning to put up this interview.
It's gonna
I mean,
go
put
up. I
up
think
this
it's either
video,
Wednesday
but
or Friday. If you want me to put it up after your interview, I can to make it,
okay. Yeah, I mean, I guess it doesn't really matter. If you put on Wednesday, it's fine. I think the interview will be up by then. Like, literally, I just am waiting for them to give me the okay, and I'll put it up. But, yeah, I actually kind of want to talk about this, because I'd be interested in hearing what you think about this. And definitely go to my interview, if it's up by now, to kind of get more details from the side of the producer and what he thought about this. But basically, they actually did try putting this boss into the campaign. Like, they tried to insert it into the main campaign, because obviously they tried bringing back as much cut content as possible. But when they did that, they found out that it seemed a little bit redundant, because I guess they felt that it was a little bit too similar to how you were battling it as like Spongebob. And so they kind of theorized that might have been why Heavy Iron cut it originally. And so what they decided to do instead is they incorporated Muscle Bob into some of the islands on the multiplayer mode. So you will get to see Muscle Bob in some of the Horde mode islands. And so when he told me that, I got really excited, because I'm really excited to see how they incorporate him into the multiplayer mode. But in terms of the main campaign, no, Muscle Bob is not going to be part of the original campaign. They tried really hard to maintain the original game's experience. And so there's going to be very little changes in terms of the actual single player campaign.
Yeah, because there's the same amount of golden spatulas and socks and all that, right? Like, all the collectibles are the same amount.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep, the achievements showed that too. 100 spatulas and 80 socks, and so that's all been maintained as well.
Yeah, so there you have it. But that's still cool that it's going to be part of the Horde mode. I mean, what else do we like? I mean, I'm presuming you know a little bit more, but it's like there's just so many cool things that they're adding to the Horde mode. Like, I love the fact that they put Patrick's Dream in there and Robo Squidward, obviously, and now Muscle Bob Buff Pants. Like, that's just like that. I mean, I don't know what's more fan service than that. Like,
yeah, it's really exciting, and I definitely encourage you all to check out the interview if you like. Like, he definitely talks a lot of detail about the development and some small details here and there that, while small, is really exciting.
Yeah,
I can't wait to.
Yeah, I'll leave the link to the interview if it's out by the time this is out. I'll leave the link to it in the description. If not, then obviously RidersDX's channel link will be in the description anyway. So definitely go check it out and subscribe to him if you haven't. I don't know how you haven't. Like, I mean, I think that's impossible, but regardless. So yeah, though, glad we got to get that answer question decent. That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Okay, next up is from Retro Plus, who says, "Hey Zach, glad to see two of my favorite Rehydrated YouTubers doing a collab together." Thank you again.
Oh, thank you.
That's awesome. I love hearing stuff like that.
Yeah.
Maybe maybe one of the topics you guys can talk about is how the bosses look and if you guys like their designs. Also, maybe compare the original game to the new one and the new trailers we got. That's all I can think about. Can't wait to see the video. Thank you. When it comes to comparing the trailers, I think I'm just going to say check out our analysis videos. I think that will, just be so much easier, rather than us trying to explain that. But I'd be happy to go through the boss designs, the boss robot designs.
Yeah.
Let's start. Well, actually, by bosses, does he also? We won't talk about King Jellyfish Prawn or Flying Dutchman. We'll talk about the robots.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Robot Sandy. What do you think about her design?
You see, she's the one that I'm kind of like mixed on the most out of the three. I don't know, there's just something about, I don't know if it's her facial structure or just the way that she looks now, but there's something about her that I don't think I'm as big of a fan of. I will say though that we've gotten very little footage of her, so it's really hard to judge at this point, because I got the same feelings when I saw Robot Patrick for the first time, and then we got a little bit more footage for him and I started warming up to him. And so I think that's just gonna be the same case with Robot Sandy as well. I think one thing I noticed on Robot Sandy now compared to the original is that because her arms extend, like she's got these like black parts to her arms now that kind of just like represent that fact that her arms can extend. I really don't know the technical term for that. Maybe some robot major could inform us on that, but it kind of just makes the robots seem, I don't want to say more realistic, but just more logical, I guess. And so I thought that was a cool addition. But yeah, I will have to wait until I can form a full opinion on Robot Sandy.
Yeah, it's actually kind of funny because I actually really liked the Robot Sandy boss. I don't know. I just thought it was. I mean, to me, I liked how almost makeshift the face look, because that's one thing I loved. Like, I think this was a thing in the original, but because of the limitations in power, it was harder to convey. Is that these robots are haphazardly put together? They are not like professionally graded robots. These are just thrown together slabs of metal. And with Robot Sandy, I could see that it even looks like her head is like a bucket or something, you know, like with just things cut out from it.
Yeah.
That's what I see. But yeah, I like Robot Sandy. I think she's pretty good. But yeah, but like Ryder said, I think we need to see a little more of them in action, because I don't think a 2-second clip is going to show us everything.
Yeah.
So speaking, you mentioned Robot Patrick. Let's move on to Robot Patrick. How do you feel about Robot Patrick now?
Yeah, in the beginning, I wasn't a big fan, but as I've seen him in motion now, like I like Robot Patrick a lot. I think Robot Patrick doesn't look as scary as he did in the original, which is kind of been a theme with a lot of these like redesigns and such. And so that's something that I'm a little bit mixed on, but I understand. I think they're trying to match the design of the current show, and so it makes complete sense why they've revamped the designs in that manner. Robot Patrick still looks pretty good. I think the only thing I find a little bit odd about him is that his shorts are green now, which makes sense because Patrick's shorts are green too. But I guess I got really used to the dark shorts of the original and thought that matched the colors better in terms of contrast. But no, Robot Patrick still looks pretty good, and I'm looking forward to facing off against him in the remake.
Yeah, there's something about the robot boss fight that just, to me, I'm still in what your original thoughts of. I'm not quite sure about this yet. That's how I feel about Robot Patrick.
Okay.
I still need to get used to the changes a little bit. Something about the battle, I don't know, like when Patrick started spinning, something looked off. Looked like he was a bit slower, like it was a bit different. I don't know. I still have to, like, I have to actually fight the boss to be able to truly, say how I feel, I think, for this case.
When he spins, he's bouncing a little bit, so that's kind of one of the differences. And he's also not spinning as fast as he was in the original too. So that kind of goes back to my overall consensus that the robot seems less menacing compared to the original. I don't know if that's what you might be thinking of.
Yeah, I think so. Because it might be, because I remember how fast he span. Wow, Zach, let's think of words here. How fast he spun really not resonated, because that's such a small thing, but it's like, I remember that from his battle, and the fact that they changed it a little, I don't know. I just have to get used to it. I'm sure I will. And then Robot Spongebob. How do you feel about him?
Oh gosh, Robot SpongeBob is by far my favorite of the three.
Same.
Actually, like his redesign was the one I was looking forward to most out of all the robots, all the characters, everything. He was the one that I was looking forward to seeing the most, because it kind of goes back to how like the Chum Bucket theme has become my favorite, because I just love that final moment when you finally get to the last boss and you're battling the biggest robots of all. It was such an iconic moment to me as a kid, and I love what they did to Robot SpongeBob in the remake. I think Robot SpongeBob looks creepier actually here, because it's something about the blue eyes in particular. The blue eyes just make him seem like that much more hollow in a way, and so I'm really liking how he's looking now. And yeah, Robot SpongeBob is definitely my favorite out of all three, and probably one of my favorite redesigns in general out of everyone. So I'm really excited to battle this guy in the remake.
Yeah, he looks great. I actually think the menacing part of him for me was his mouth, because like if you look at his bottom lip, you could see like just a little bit of his bottom teeth, and something about that creeped me out. I don't know what it was, but it was cool. But yeah, like you, he's my favorite redesign so far. Like he looks great. My favorite part of his boss fight is when he shouts karate, like that. Just him, like the robotic voice saying karate always sticks out in my mind. So I can't wait to see that, because that would be so cool. But he just looks great.
I know. I geeked out when I saw him. He looks fantastic. I cannot wait to see him in motion in the actual game.
Yeah. Okay, so that's it for that. Two more questions left. Let's move on to Dante Grimm, who says, perhaps you should discuss what some of your hopes are for Rehydrated in terms of cut content or gameplay additions or adjustments. So you can start with this one.
All right, so this question is kind of hard for me to answer because after I did my interview, like I have an idea of what they're doing now, and so they really tried hard to maintain the original experience of the game. So you're not going to see a lot of like things in terms of additions or adjustments for the main campaign. Now I will say though, they went all out with the multiplayer. Like there's a bunch of things that they added into the multiplayer, and so I guess like things I'm still hoping to see that I don't know about yet. I hope to see even more references to new episodes that we've seen for like Handsome Squidward, for example, or like the SpongeGar meme. I really hope we can see that like chicken SpongeBob somewhere.
Oh my god!
I think that's probably my favorite SpongeBob meme is the chicken one. So I'm really hoping that they fit that in there somewhere. And also like I'm really looking forward to seeing how the characters in the multiplayer mode play, like Gary, Mr. Krabs, Squidward, and Robot Plankton. Like they got some really cool moves in there that I think it's gonna be really cool to see.
Yeah, Robot Plankton looks so cool. I'm actually kind of glad it's Robot Plankton, just because of the fact that you just know Robot Plankton from the game, and now you actually get to play as Robot Plankton. Like I don't know, like I prefer it over regular Plankton actually. I don't know why, but.
No, I feel the same way.
Yeah, it's just so cool. For me, I don't think there's really any like adjustments or additions that really stick out to me in terms of cut content. Like everything that they're doing seems to be added to the Horde mode. So whatever they want to do, whatever they decide to do, I'm just completely fine with. No matter how big or small, just put on the multiplayer mode, completely fine with it. It looks great, every single bit that we saw. And like I said, like they didn't have to do that. Like that's just something that they did because they really loved. Like I think at Gamescom, one of the interviews that they had there, they said that I think it's the developer, one of the developers or the lead, whatever, said that they were fans of the original game, and they love the fan base. They watch Shift and all that kind of stuff. So it's really cool that the people who are making this game have just as much passion for this game as we do. So the fact that they're putting in this stuff to begin with is amazing. So whether or not they add any more or not, I don't care. Just whatever they want to add, they can do it, and I'll be a happy little SpongeBob fan.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, I guess that's it for that. And lastly, the Animating Gamer asks, how do you feel about Rehydrated making the graphics a bit more realistic for a SpongeBob game? I don't think the graphics... I think the only thing that looks more realistic is the grass. It doesn't look realistic to me. I mean, maybe it's just me. I don't know.
Yeah, I feel like... I don't know if it's realistic per se, but more so they're just adding more detail overall.
Yeah, like more details, and just it's more modern. If that's like it's, I mean, obviously it's modern because it's going to modern consoles, but yeah, I don't think it's realistic.
If anything, I feel like the remake looks more cartoony than the original because the colors are so much more like contrasted, and all the character designs look so much more goofy than they were in the original. And so I'd have to disagree about it being more realistic, but I think maybe they were referring to more so that a lot more details being added, and I think the detail is really good, honestly. Like something that I've heard from countless amounts of people about this remake is that it reminds them of how Spiral looked, and like Spiral is a really good looking game, so that's a good thing in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, I think the shot that really showed me how good this game, I mean, I liked how this game looks from the beginning. But funny enough, it was the last trailer we got, that shot with SpongeBob and Sandy's tree dome. That shot was beautiful. Like, the most beautiful shot I've seen so far of the game was just the dried up SpongeBob standing in front of the tree. Like, that was... I don't know, I loved it.
Yeah, that was beautiful. It reminds me of some kind of, I feel like it's a Mario level in like Galaxy or like Odyssey. It kind of reminded me of that instantly in terms of the lighting, and so those are two really graphically good games. So they're definitely on the right track.
Yeah, like they definitely like. I was, at first when I heard that Purple Lamp was doing this, and I didn't know who I didn't know who they were. I was so nervous because it wasn't Heavy Iron. But I'm really
Yeah.
happy that THQ Nordic put it in good hands. It really seems so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Do you want to add something?
we didn't really know how like Purple Lamp was gonna do with this, to be honest. You know, the only game that they made before this, as far as I know, was the Guild 3, and graphically that game doesn't really look that impressive, but it might just be because of the kind of game it is also. But yeah, Rehydrated definitely showed that this is a really talented team. I mean, there may be some things here and there that could be spruced up a little bit, but like that's for like every game.
Yeah, exactly.
Technically,
like I've seen
so
some games look way worse, and but yeah. Is there anything else you want to add before we head out?
I mean, just I really appreciate the whole community for being so passionate about this game, and for watching videos like ZakPak and like all the other community members out there. One thing I love about this is that it's bringing a lot of SpongeBob fans together, and I definitely like watch all the Rehydrated videos you can. Like, definitely get excited about it. Everyone's working really hard to make these videos and just chat about this game with y'all, making the wait to the game like a little bit more bearable. And so, just keep up the good work.
Yeah, I love going through and reading the comments and hearing like how everyone's excited for the game. And I don't know about you, riders, but for me, I have a younger audience for the most part. So just hearing these people who probably didn't grow up with the original Battle for Bikini Bottom be excited for Rehydrated, or even if they did go, it's just, I don't know, it's just very exciting that a new generation of gamers will be able to grow up with this game. So yeah.
Yeah, I think I have like a good mix of both, because I get a lot of people that seem like they're experiencing this game for the first time. Like, I've spoken to some people in my Discord server especially, but I've also got a lot of people that like will notice the smallest of details in the remake that's not like the original, and they'll point that out. And so I'm like, yeah, I think I got a good mix of both here, which is awesome, because I think that's gonna be so cool. And because not only do we get to relive our childhoods, but a lot of people will get to make their own childhoods with this game too. So that's such a heartwarming thing to think about. I can't wait for the new generation to get their hands on this game and just kind of see how awesome it was.
Yeah, exactly. And I also hope, like we were kind of talking about earlier, I hope that this does so well that we get like an actual proper, like, I mean, I guess Truth or Square was a sequel to Battle for Bikini Bottom, but I wasn't a huge fan of that game. But nevertheless, hope we get a really good sequel to Battle for Bikini Bottom out of this too.
Yeah.
All right, I guess that's it. Is there anything else you want to add before we head out?
No, I think I'm good. Just keep up the good vibes.
Yeah, definitely keep up the good vibes. If you haven't, obviously make sure to check out RidersDX's channel. His link will be in the description, as well as the contact form for Purple Lamp Studios. And I guess that's it. So thank you guys so much for watching.
All right, thanks guys.
All right, yeah. Later, guys.